my dear student, there are several other items of a selection policy. So let's come and discuss those items of a selection policy. One is selection techniques. We have to answer certain question about the selection techniques. Will multiple interviews be employed? As you know that in some particular positions, multiple interviewing need to be done. And in some positions, only single interview is sufficient. So we have to answer whether the multiple interviews would be conducted or single interview would be sufficient. Then we have to answer something about the employment test. Will psychological test be used to hire such kind of a person? Will assessment centers be used for executive positions? Sometimes to hire an executive seniors, we need to conduct assessment centers. So we have to answer such kind of questions when we are going to design our selection policy. Then we have to answer very tricky question. How will specific skills be measured? Because there are different skills required for a different job positions, and different skills need to be measured by a different way. So we have to define, we have to describe that how specific skills be measured. Will all applicants be required to undertake a medical examination? Sometimes it is not necessary that each and every applicant need to go through a medical examination. If they need to go, we need to clearly mention for that particular position, medical examination is necessary. Then, will genetic screening or HIV/AIDS testing be undertaken? In some countries, this particular testing and screening is very important. So we have to answer this tricky question as well. Then another selection policy item is in employment consultants. Will external employment agencies, management recruiters, or executive search consultants be used? It is not always necessary, guys, that we need to use employment consultant. For some particular position, for some executive positions, we may need to use executive search firm. We may need to use employment agencies. So we have to clearly mention that for this particular position, we will use employment consultants or executive search firms. And for these particular positions, we will not use employment agencies or executive search firms. If so far, for what position? For which position we will use employment consultant? In what situation? And who will choose the consultant? Who would be responsible to choose the consultant? HR managers, line manager, or chief executive of the company? Then industrial relation is another important selection policy item. Are there any trade union restriction or membership required regarding employment? Because it is unionization and union involvement is important in some of the profession, in some of the sectors, in some particular context. So you have to consider your context and you have to answer this question, that how much union would be involved in selection policy. Then legal issues. There are a number of legal issues involved in selection. Are there any legal restriction or requirements regarding employment? For example, in some countries, there are only licensed electricians are hired to do some particular electricity related job. But maybe in Pakistan, this question is not relevant. So you have to answer that whether they need any particular license, they need any particular certifications to do any particular profession or any particular job. Then organizational structure and business objective is another selection policy item. Are the company selection policies and practices in harmony with the organization's strategic business objective? It is very important, as in the start I told you, that you must need to link all of your selection procedures and selection items with the strategic business objective of the company. So you have to answer it. Do the candidates selected have the personal characteristics, skills, knowledge, abilities, and formal qualification required by the organization's strategic business objective? These all things must need to be aligned with the strategic business objectives of the organization. And the cost, most important selection policy item. What is the budget? Who will pay the cost, HR or the line department? And who will authorize the payment for the selection process? It is important that selection process be recognized by managers as systematic gathering of information. Because, ladies and gentlemen, it is very important decision and we need to consider all these particular concepts in detail. It aims to generate much job-related data as possible to enable them to managers to choose the right individual to fill a job. If you will not choose the right individual to fill any particular job at the particular time, obviously you are just wasting all of your resources in terms of time and money. The selection process can also be viewed as a series of hurdles that the candidate must pass successfully before being offered a job. Because offering a job is a very important concept in the organization. And if you are offering a job to someone, you need to pass candidate through a series of hurdles. And after passing through a series of hurdles, the person need to get offered and need to join the organization in the later stage.